What's up, world? Hey, it's me, Lamar Moore for Lamar Media Versatility. And guess what? We ready for 2023, y'all. We ready to be booked for your event, to document, bring those memories to life, and make them everlasting. And guess what else you ready for? To bring you the experience with our booths, the experience with the fun times, and the energy, that positive energy, that energy that just keeps going and going. So remember, book ups for 2023. We're here to document and provide an experience for your events. Peace.
I'm Dr. Bobby G. McAllister, and I'm excited about signing my first signature book, Beyond 66 Moving Forward. My book will be released on June 3rd, 2023, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at our Gifted Hand bookstore on Henderson Drive, Jacksonville, North Carolina. Where do we go from here is the question. I hear the sound of freedom. I hear the sound of victory. It's an apostolic move. It's a sound of oneness, and the manifestation is that all people must have fire in their belly. We are a united nation by God's vision if we can believe it. Freedom cannot be contained because it's a state of being. I released this book saying, let freedom ring beyond 2023. I was on a mountaintop in South Vietnam when Martin was assassinated. I later asked the Lord, why was I in Vietnam? His reply was, I have preserved you. You have preserved me. He said, we must do it again. Do what? He said what Martin Luther and the Civil Rights Movement did was a practical application of what the church must do. This has been a joyful journey, and to God be the glory. So I released this book saying, let freedom ring beyond 2023.
See you there.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts and guests of Colorful Voices of Sisterhood are their own and do not represent L'Amour Media Versatility, that of any broadcast networks utilized, its advertisers, or sponsors. All content is subject to copyright and may not be reproduced in any form without prior written consent by L'Amour Media Versatility. The views and opinions expressed by the hosts and guests of Colorful Voices of Sisterhood are for general public information and entertainment purposes only.
Happy Wednesday and welcome back to Colorful Voices of Sisterhood. We are very excited today. We have Shannon Jordan, which is a Community Engagement Coordinator for Lower Cape Fear Hospice. We're so super excited to bring her today because a lot of times we hear the word hospice and we really get like a fear factor in us. So she's going to bring that myth about hospice today. So if you guys got any questions, put it in the chat. We'll talk about it. But we're super excited to bring Shannon. So Shannon, I'll let you talk a little bit about your experience in hospice.
Okay. So I've been with Lower Cape Fear Life Care for a little over a year. My background was in memory care and nursing home. And I joined Life Care because they provided a service for my mother-in-law with dementia. So it was eye-opening, and I had worked with them with hospice before, and so I feel very proud to work for this organization. We are a nonprofit organization, and we have been around for over 40 years. We were formerly Lower Cape Fear Hospice, but we changed our name to Life Care because we do have so many other programs besides hospice. What I have found out about hospice itself, and I even found out through myself, when you hear, you know, my uncle, my grandmother, my brother, they're on hospice, that, you know, oh, I'm sorry. Yes. But actually what hospice is it provides service way in advance. If you decide to choose to go with hospice, it does not have to be the last week of life. But unfortunately, 90% of patients do not sign up for hospice until the very end. Mm-hmm. If someone would sign up sooner, it provides a physician, it provides a nurse practitioner, an RN, it provides CNAs to come in the home to help do bathing and cleaning and light housekeeping, and it provides a support network for someone with a terminal illness. And we have found that those that sign up, you know, prior to the last week of life, when they find out about a terminal illness, can actually extend their life for 2 months.
Yes, and it works not just with terminal illness, because I know, you know, I've had family members that had hospice come in just to help them to come in. I deal with hospice now, and this is why it's so dear to me, because my mother does have dementia. And I met Shannon at one of the Rotary meetings, and when she was talking about the different services that's offered, I thought this would be ideal to come on the show to talk about what hospice actually offers. So if you don't mind, can you talk about some of the care that hospice offers?
So the one thing that, you know, I had just mentioned was the hospice care, and that is when someone has a diagnosis with 6 months or left to live. Now, can they live a year? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. We're not God, right? Right, or longer. But it is when they have a diagnosis. And so we have nurses that go out and work with that patient to make sure they're eligible and that they follow the Medicare guidelines. Hospice is covered by Medicare, Medicaid, and private insurances. So this is something that you have paid into and deserve to get. Mm-hmm. Our palliative care is when you have a life-limiting illness, and you don't necessarily need that whole team around you, but you have a nurse practitioner that will come to your home or to the facility that you live in, and she will help you organize all the different things that you have going on, and talk to you about what your disease is and help you with the medications and pain management for it. For example, I have a girlfriend that has breast cancer right now, and she's actually done really well. She's had a double mastectomy, and she's on palliative care. Now, when this cancer is gone and we hope it will be, she will not be on palliative anymore. So anyone with a diagnosis of cancer would be eligible for, say, something like palliative. But others examples would be COPD. That can come, it can be harder at times and then ease up at times. So some people end up on palliative and go off of palliative, and they can go on it as needed. We also provide a respite care. That is when one of our patients, and as you know, as being a caregiver, need a break. And so someone that is one of our patients, they can come into one of our 3 care centers, and the family can go to a baby shower, go to a wedding, travel, and so that they can come in there, and every 3 months they can stay for 5 nights, the patient, so that we can take care of them.
So they actually can stay, the respite care can actually come into their home.
They come to one of our care centers.
Care center.
Yeah, we take care of them in our care center. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Our care centers are also used, a lot of people think it's just for last end of life, and mostly it is, but the care center can also be used for if someone's medications are completely not working for them. They can come in there, we can get them straightened out, feeling better, and then send them back home.
Wow, that's great. I want to go back to the palliative care.
Okay.
That you say your friend is dealing with the breast cancer. So pretty much they're there for support.
Yes, and pain management.
And pain management to help her.
Yes.
Is there a certain amount of hours that they're there for the palliative care?
It's going to depend on their diagnosis and how often they have to go visit them.
Okay.
But typically I would say it would be about once a week.
Okay, for the palliative. Now, is it a 24-hour, 7-day?
Hospice is 24 hours, 7 days. There's always someone that you can call and reach someone to talk to, a nurse.
Okay.
Is always answering the phone to answer questions.
Okay. Now, once hospice come in, does it take from their doctors? Can they become on the hospice care so they no longer have to go to their regular doctor?
That is correct.
Okay.
So, and you don't have to have a physician's note to come in. If you feel like you have a loved one that needs hospice, you can contact us, and we will be the go-between and talk with your physicians. Believe it or not, sometimes physicians have a hard time talking to the families about this because physicians are known for what? Medicating and making better.
Yes.
And so sometimes, depending on the physician, they have a hard time to say, it's time for this. And so we actually have conversations with physicians as well. But we will be the go-in-between. And then at that point, we are the physician, your primary care physician. We still communicate with them and tell them what's going on with your life, but we are the one now that, provides the medication. We provide what's called your DME medical equipment. All that's covered. So we pay for your medication. We pay for your, hospital bed, your nurse that's going to come in, and depending on where you are in your disease process, how often that RN comes in. And then your CNA can come in 2 to 3 times a week, depending on how much you need, bathing and help with that. And that's the hospice.
Which that is something that you can actually fight for, for your loved one if it comes to the time that you need help. Because sometimes, like you said early on, we wait too late.
Yes.
And when we bring them in, they are a week or 2. And then a lot of times that's where the myth come in that once they got on hospice, they dying.
That is the number one thing the families say, I wish I would have done this sooner. I wish I would have done this sooner.
Yes.
Why you think they don't want to do sooner?
They don't know.
Right. And
They
that's
don't
what's
know.
happening.
They
is
think
the
it's
education.
that's right. They think it is just for the pain management at the very end of life, when actually it's not. Because what we found, like I've said, is that if we come in sooner and get their pain under control and their symptoms managed, they can actually live a better life through that process. But people don't know. People they always call that last week, that last 3 to 10 days,
So usually people come to hospice as people that recommend they live in 6 months or 6 weeks, and that is when they check in to hospice. Like
a lot of times we get referrals from the hospital. This person is passing, and they call us and we talk with the families, and they're ready to go home. So we can do hospice in their home. We can do hospice in the hospital. We can do hospice in a facility. So facility, I hate that word, but facility meaning nursing home, assisted living. And we can do hospice in our care center. And so the care center is typically the very end of life.
Yeah.
But we usually don't hear about it until the very, very end. of someone's, because they are afraid that if they
They
call
fear,
us,
yeah.
that they're going to die sooner.
Yeah.
When they
It's
could live
opposite.
longer. Yeah.
Like my mother been on hospice. I have hospice care come in, and also in addition to an aide coming in. And it took me to find out what sources was out there, because like she said, it wasn't really told to me at the doctor. When my mother started dealing with dementia, I had to go different places because the doctor automatically thought she was just aging. This is normal. I'm like, no, this is not normal. Because when you spend time with your parents, you know what's normal and what's not normal. So I wound up taking her down to Morris in Wilmington to get the diagnosis of what's going on. So as years passed by, mentally, physically, me as a caretaker and my family was worn out before anybody even told me about hospice care. Because again, that's what you hear, she's dying. And I've been getting hospice care help for over a year now. Over a year. June will be a year. Yeah, June will be a year that hospice have came in to help me a few days to come in, and they even furnished the supplies because I had to pay for the supplies out of pocket.
Right.
And it's expensive out of pocket, but when hospice come in, they providing the supplies for me as well with my mother.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of benefits to getting the help, even if you just want to sit down and talk to Shannon or somebody with hospice. What was offered?
Right.
What's out there as far as the caretaker or for their loved ones?
So with the dementia, with the memory partners, so we created, because we were getting so many calls of my loved one has dementia, but they're not really actively passing. They don't have a 6-month diagnosis. We kept getting calls of families because there's not a lot of support for those with dementia. And so that's where we created our Memory Partners program. And our Memory Partners program provides support for the caregiver of someone with dementia.
Yes.
So we help do training for them to explain why they're having the behaviors that they're having, why, where they are in their disease process, what to expect, and really try to help take care of the caregiver. And then we have sessions that we have 2 different types. We have one caregiver support that is we have Masters of Social Work and RNs trained specifically in dementia, and they help the caregiver. So they do support for them, they do counseling for them, and then we have peer-to-peer so that you as a caregiver can talk to other caregivers about what you're going through. And so then we have days that we hold where we have the person that has dementia comes in along with the caregiver, and we take the person with dementia and we do activities with them so that they're not aware of the conversations that we're having, and we have one-on-one support so that the caregivers can all meet each other and have support days.
Yeah. So what is the difference between hospice care and grieving?
So hospice care is actual medical care where you get your physician, you get your nurse, your CNA. Grief is what you go through. Grief is when someone is passing or has a disease and you're grieving while they're alive. Grief is something you go through, and grief care is provided by a counselor, and we will provide grief care to anybody in the community, not just someone who's been a patient of ours. If someone has been a patient of ours, we follow them for 13 months. Okay. And the reason most do 12, we do 13 because we want to hit that year mark. Okay. Because that is a very hard time.
That's right.
Oh, wow. After the event happened.
And I was sharing early on that's the process that I go through now because my mother is leaving, the grieving. Okay, and then afterwards, there's a grief. Then there's my coaching is called the journey to the end to the beginning. Because things I need to know that eventually there will be a process that she will die, but we all can die. She's outlived a lot. But at least I know to have everything already in place. Because I was able to get a lot of stuff while she was still in her right mind. I know her wishes and stuff. But we don't want to talk about that. But I tell people all the time, dying is actually a natural part of living, that you have to talk about this right here because it falls back on the next generation. But I like how you guys followed for at least 13 months because a lot of times people are there when when the loved ones of someone die, everybody rushes in to be there. But where are you at 3 months
2
afterwards?
weeks even, yes.
There's no phone calls. There's nothing. But everybody's there to tell you what to do in the middle of the process. But you need people afterwards, not just years sometimes afterwards, because of the relationship that they have with that person. And the conversation is the biggest thing to have when somebody die, as far as grief.
I hear that when I'm at presentations all the time. I have people come up to me, I'm still upset 6 years later. My husband died 6 years ago. Why am I still crying? And tears. And I'm like, you need to get some grief support, you know, and I'm like, just call. It's free. Just call us. You know, people plan for baby showers, right? They plan for weddings. But we do this disservice. We don't, because we are so scared of end of life. But you know what? One out of every one of us is going to die. But we don't want to talk about it, and because we people think that if you talk about it, it brings it closer, right? But it's not true. If you don't talk about this, then it's really a disservice, especially to the person who, you know, when families are arguing during the time of, you know, well, I would want mom to be on life support, or I don't want that, or I think she would want to be buried, or I think she, you know, that's not the time to decide those things.
I got a question. I'm going to, it says, how do we advocate for more funding for the hospice sector to expand to different ages, races? How do we advocate for them?
Repeat that again.
How do we advocate for more? Let me make sure I read it right. How do we advocate for more funding? Because they say you're a nonprofit for the hospice sector to expand to different ages and races. Absolutely. And maybe because, you know, even with me, we didn't know about it. Right. You know, how do we make sure that it gets out to everybody?
Right. Well, I know that we have just worked on getting a health equity grant, and so that we do go out and work with the underserved population. And I've been working with the Latino communities, I've worked with the African American communities, trying to get the word out more. I would think it's more impoverished communities, Latino communities that aren't aware of us as much, and especially they're worried, those that have come here and don't have insurance and those things. Yes. But we don't turn anyone away because we are a nonprofit. We relinquish about $1 million a year in unpaid dues. Unpaid bills. And so we have major fundraisers. We have one called Last Chance for White Pants, and it is a party. And so people pay to go to that party. That's one way that we do our fundraising. And we write grants left and right to try to help support, like our dementia program. We got $1 million for that program. And so we show how that's working and how many homes we're in. And so we're pretty much grant funded. And then of course people can donate. People who have been on our hospice services, they'll donate to put up a plaque of their loved one and those type of things. There's always ways to help that you can donate. But we are trying to reach the underserved. And if any of you viewers out there want someone to come and speak and to tell someone about these services, please contact me.
Yes. Shannon, we'll make sure we put your stuff up there too, so they'll know how to reach you. Because like you were saying, this information has to go out. Yes. People don't know about it. I would have never known about it if I wasn't advocating, trying to figure out what else can I do. Because me and my family, there was times when we were sleeping outdoors in the car because my mother was a wanderer in the beginning, and we didn't know what to do. But, you know, the thing about it is she know that was something going on, so she's fighting for her life as well as we're trying to fight for her safety.
Yes.
So when you realize that you got to take you out of the picture to figure out what's safe for her. I had a cousin that, Carlene, that actually had to talk to me and said, you have to become her voice. You have to make the decisions for her. Where I was fighting to let her keep her independence.
Right.
So there's a difference. Because now what she's going through, I got to be the one to make the decisions for her. I had to be the one to get kind of angry. Me and my daughters at the doctors, with the doctors. She's not just aging. Right. There is something going on. And if you're not going to figure out what's going on, I got to go somewhere else. Write me somebody. Yeah. Write me a prescription to figure out what's going on. But I like it that I could have called you without even have to go to the doctor. Maybe try to figure out like what's going on. I did not know that.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So it's waiting list since you guys nonprofit. You know, if you go to the doctor, some people afraid to go to the doctor because of the insurance if they don't have insurance. Since you guys nonprofit organization, so they are waiting list for this.
No.
Oh.
No, there's no waiting list.
Okay.
No.
There's no limitation like how many room you guys have enough room for.
Well, the care centers
The care
are
center.
typically when someone's actively passing. The families typically would like for them to stay at home up to that point. They want their loved one with them, and the loved one wants, their opinion matters. And so if that loved one's wanting to stay home, you want them to stay there. The care centers are typically when it is the last 3 to 5 days.
And
but
you don't want to
can't
die
say
at
it.
home.
And typically, a lot of times it's because, especially if it's someone elderly, the wife or the husband may not be able to do that care, that 24/7 hour care that we provide. Because we have a doctor there 24/7, nurses there, CNAs there. Our care centers are very peaceful. We have outdoor, every resident, every person that, is there, they have a way to be able to get fresh air. And every patient, has their own little door that they can open. And so, but people typically come there towards the end, or unless they're doing pain management or coming there for respite.
I got another quick question. For the different hospice services, are they experienced fully to case management and social workers within the healthcare medical setting realm? Oftentimes, I see patient family members when hospice is mentioned. Their entire demeanor and body language change, so there is a barrier in between regarding the services.
Yes.
And that's pretty much what you said. They don't understand what hospice can offer.
Yes. And if they call in our patient access can explain all that. So we have people that sit daily, taking the calls for anyone that's calling for hospice or palliative and can explain all that to them. But yes, just because that everyone thinks hospice is the last very little bit, even in the hospital setting. Now, in New Hanover County, we have hospice representatives, because that's where we are based and where we started. We have representatives in the hospital that go and talk to the families and explain the process to them. But anyone here in Onslow County, our office is off Henderson Drive, and you can just call for referral, and we can explain that process to you.
That's awesome. So how often do you go into hospitals to talk with people when they're dealing with?
Yes, we have clinical liaisons. There are RNs that go in and talk with the family.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And here in this county, every county we cover from Onslow all the way down into Horry County, and we have the nurses and the staff are local to that area. But yes, we have clinical liaisons in every county we cover that can go into the hospital and they talk. And we try to talk to physicians, and some are so receptive. As I was telling you earlier, last year my physician said, have you got your healthcare power of attorney done? He's very much on it, and he was telling me what a supporter he is of hospice and palliative, because it takes the pressure off of him, and he said, and it helps, the family, they need that. They need someone in there where they can't come see him as often, where you've got that 24/7, that RN ready, to help you. But there are some physicians that just don't know in depth about it, and so that's part of our education too.
Shannon, out in earlier when we was talking, it was a young lady that was fighting for her life. I can't remember how old she was. The importance of having a power of attorney. You made mention of that.
My friend with the breast cancer?
No, the young girl that.
Oh, so the Terry Schiavo case.
Yes.
Yes, I don't know if you guys remember that. But she was very young, and she ended up on life support. And so it was a huge ordeal all over the news. So her husband said, I know her, she would never want to live like this. And half of America were like, yeah, let her go. And then her parents said, she's young. Miracles happen every day. If we take her off life support, we never have a chance. And half of America said, yeah. So she stayed on life support for many years while the battle, and it went to a court case, and eventually she was taken off life support. But you had people on the outside of the hospital that were, fighting for her to live, and then others that were like, no. And so it is so important, regardless of your age, people want to wait until, they're older to make these decisions, when you can make them now. You can decide now, do I want a feeding tube? Do I want to be on life support? Who do I want to make a decision for me? If I should be nonverbal and have to live, in a hospital, is this how I want to live? And it's things to think about, and no one wants to think about them. But if you get it and get it over with, then you won't have to worry
Think of
about your
them.
family doing it. You're giving them a gift.
Right.
You know, taking the burden off of them.
Yeah, this I think is the hardest thing you can imagine to do. And if you, especially you're young, and even if you're not young, if you age of 100, still you don't want to let your family go, and watching your loved one dying.
Yeah.
So my question is, how do the nurse deal with that mentally? What is like? Do you guys have any information how, especially the nurse that work with something like that, how mentally is what is done to them?
Well, I think that there's a special gift that certain nurses, that is their passion. That's what they love. And, you know, I can't speak for them. I'm not a caregiver. But I hear from patients' families all the time how wonderful they were and how caring they are. Mm-hmm. And I think part of it is that they treat the patient like a person, not like they're dying. Mm-hmm. And they treat them, you know, with respect until the end. And I think that for them, I think it is an honor and a privilege to be part of the end of life. Just as, you know, there's baby doctors that want to be in the beginning of life. There's nurses that just feel so honored to be able to be a part of their dying process as well. I know I would want a sweet hospice nurse with me. You know?
That way you're not there by yourself, that somebody is there in support.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
And they
with
can
you when
explain
go.
what's happening. They talk to the family about the symptoms and what's going to happen. And as the body, I mean, I've took a few classes and they from these nurses, and they will tell you, you know, these are the steps that happen as the body is breaking down, as it is dying. This is what you're going to see. This is what you're going to hear. Don't let this scare you. This is part of it, you know, reaching. And a lot of times they'll talk to people as well, you know. And
people upstairs.
Yep, people upstairs.
People upstairs.
To me, and this is just my belief, I feel like they're halfway there, and they're kind of in that. Yeah, they're already talking to their husband and their mamas in there, you know, and they're coming for them, you know, and it's peaceful feeling seeing that. Really, I mean, because it gives
if you're
you.
suffering. I mean, if you're suffering, it is. But I don't think I can do that. I would be running and crying. I swear, I can't.
So it's amazing the strength that you can get when someone that you love that you have to do.
Yeah.
Because my family, they all know when before my mom got sick, I would be sick with any little stuff. But now that I have to take care of it, it's God gives you the strength to do what you have to do, and you do it, and you don't even think really nothing of it because it's like I'm taking care of her.
Yeah.
Now the roles has been reversed where she took care of me. Now I'm taking care of her, and it becomes a joy. But it also in the beginning it was strenuous in the beginning because I could not find no help. Everywhere I went, it's like I was having roadblocks because if she don't have Medicaid, she can't get this. She only got Medicare. And in the beginning when she was running the aides off, because, you know, they still have some rights, you know. You get people in. So it brings you so much joy when you get somebody in that can just sit down and say, hey, you need a break. You know, we're here with your mom for you. You know, you can get away. Yeah. So that's why I like that care, and but you guys can also send somebody in to just sit with them too, right?
That's right. So with the memory partner, so with someone with dementia, we have vouchers, and so we either have our own trained volunteers, which, by the way, plug here, we always need volunteers, always, and it's not always necessarily has to be with patient care. That is our number one, but we always need volunteers. And we can bring someone trained in dementia to sit with the loved one with dementia so that the caregiver can even sometimes just walk around the block or go to the grocery store. Things that you don't realize that they can't even do, or sleep.
Yes.
Take a nap.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, you know, those
Definitely
type things.
sleep-deprived.
And then with hospice, yes, you have the RNs that come. I mean, you have the CNAs that come in and give the, you know, take care of the loved ones so you can get a break as well.
Now with hospice care, I think we talked a little bit about the financial piece that comes out of the patient's Medicare or Medicaid.
That's correct.
They don't. Nobody has to pay out of pocket.
That is correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
So.
Yep, that even covers the medication. The only type of medication it wouldn't cover is if there's a pre-existing condition that you cannot connect to. And honestly, I've rarely seen that. Maybe something with a thyroid that you might have had in your 20s or something. But typically, with any type of medication, they can kind of connect it to your disease process, and it's covered.
Yeah, just this, I was telling you earlier when we were in the green room, I'm reflecting back in where I'm from, and we don't have those resources. We really don't. if you lost loved one, you cry for a week, then you go on with your life. It's sometimes people that lose mentally, they become unstable because they don't know how to cope the grieving, and then you just become crazy one and run around naked, and people throw rock on you. Like, it just make me realize that that is what is causing, because if you're not stable here or you don't have something resource like this and sit down with you, walk you through
The grief.
it's
yeah. The grief can be overwhelming, absolutely, when
is.
you lose a loved one.
Yes.
Absolutely.
yeah.
And grief happen not just in death. It's any separation, anything that you could be going through, dealing with grief, but especially when someone dies. You know,
Especially someone you attach to them.
and you don't have to be old. You know what I mean? A lot of times people think, oh, I got so much time to prepare. We don't know.
We don't
Young
know.
people, middle age, all ages, passes. And then us back here that if remain deals with that grief of it, that journey.
Yeah.
How do we go? So do you guys help the family in the beginning to actually prepare if they had to do burial planning the funeral, let me put it that way.
So we don't help with necessarily planning the funeral, but we go through the different steps. We talk with them about their wishes.
Okay.
So yes, I mean, if some people have already prepaid for these, some people know what they want, but we do talk with them about. We first talk about, do not resuscitate, and we talk about their health care power of attorney, who's to make these decisions, and then make sure that they have all those forms filled out. And then what would they like? Do they want to be buried? Do they want to be cremated? We do talk with them about what their wishes are, so that we do know what the next step's going to be.
Right.
But we hope, people will have kind of worked this out before they come, but it doesn't necessarily always happen. And that's where every family member, what your brother wants for your mom and what you want for your mom and what your dad wants for your mom are three different things. And so now you've got someone with a terminal illness, and you are all fighting for what you think, especially if that person's unable to answer for themselves, what you think they would want. When the only person that could really answer for themselves was them. Things you don't think about. So, like, for instance, I have two girlfriends and their sisters, and they're really close with them, and they live in Florida. And they lost their dad on New Year's Eve this year. And he kept saying his information was in the cloud. It's in the cloud, girls. It's in the cloud. Never showed him where it was. So things that you don't think about is, where are these passwords? Where's the passwords for the Duke power bill? Because that power bill keeps coming. Where's the password? Stops. Yes, nothing stops. And so where are these passwords? Things that you're like, and Facebook, what's that password so I can stop that?
Right.
What would you want music? Would you want a priest or preacher? Are you religious? Would you not want that? Would you want flowers? Would you not? So we have a little book called Begin the Conversation. And so I go out and I present this little book. It's called Time to Face the Elephant in the Room. And it just goes through and it asks all these questions. And you don't fill out the book in one day.
Right.
You take your time and you slowly fill out this book. And it answers all those questions for you and for your family.
But we have to face it. It's not easy. It's hard thing to think about when life is in front of you. You want to live. You have those plans.
Yes.
And it just you not. It's difficult to sit down. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna put. It's not.
Yes.
But at the same time, if you want to get buried and die, and right way, so you. Family, they won't go crazy and fighting over nonsense and material, especially things that the one worked for.
Yes. And
he's gone. Now you're fighting over something that someone worked for. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It is necessary to put it in order. When I leave this earth, I want to live with this.
Yes.
Right.
And it's not just. I mean, if I die tomorrow, I will be okay.
Yeah,
it would be messy.
Yeah, it would be messy.
You will be okay.
Exactly. If I die, I will be well.
What about that casket and say, you didn't get your stuff together?
I would say, just send me back to Africa. Just take me back to my country so I can
so
be
we got to
good.
make sure we got the funds to send you back to Africa.
And you guys going to do that.
I'm like, Fatil, we ain't got time to be doing no fish fry for you. We got to send you back to Africa.
But one thing I would really like to. So now I'm thinking. I'm trying to put things together. I would like to be buried in my country.
Yeah.
And
that's important to you.
Yes.
I really
and
do.
so you should.
I would really like to be buried in my home.
Yeah.
And but it's gonna take me time to put. If I'm not going tomorrow, I still start.
We got this noted.
We're gonna begin the conversation.
We're gonna.
We're gonna begin the conversation.
Yes, good.
So we have
good.
to. I mean, it just is necessary. I mean, we're here to live.
And it's not fill out the book in one night.
Right.
Okay.
Trust me, I'm gonna read it before I start filming.
Just one page. Because when I first started there, I got the book. I was going through, and I was like, "Whoa, I don't know these answers."
Exactly.
And some of them you may not know. But I mean, I know for me, I would like for a celebration of life. Like I don't want to be in a casket. It's just me. I don't want to be a casket. People walk by me and they got the rouge and the baby blue inside. Like I don't want that. I want a celebration of life, and I want people to have a party, and I want to watch down on them and have them be like, "Y'all are crazy." Yeah, that's what I want. I want people to celebrate that I was here.
Right.
And I wrote that, in my conversation.
You did it.
I said, I want this. I
We
want
have
people
to do it then.
Yeah.
I got mine pretty much done up.
Yeah.
So I'm.
But you're right. It is
I
hard.
do grief coaching.
It is
Yeah.
hard.
The only reason why I got it is because I did grief coaching, and being involved with so many people in my family that passed on, I knew I need to have it. But I believe that there's a beautiful life after death. That's me.
It is.
I believe that I'm just going to a different place because I have accepted the Lord in my life, and I feel like things is going to be good. But while I'm here, I did not want to have a burden on my family if something happened to me. Mm-hmm. So I made sure I have insurance. So in my grief coaching, we talk about insurance. You need to have life insurance.
Yeah.
It's so important to me to have life insurance. And the younger you get it, the better off you are, and it helps your family.
Yes.
Because, like she said, light bill's going to keep going, water bill, the house payment. I ain't going to say they don't care, but they don't care. You better pay your bills.
Right.
So you got to have that insurance so you don't put your family in an added burden.
Right.
And we made sure that even with my mom, to make sure we have everything, done up front. Because when death happened, no matter how prepared you think you are, it still shocked the crap out of you.
It does.
It still rock your world.
And I think knowing
Like,
what your
listen,
legacy, what you want to be known for.
Yes. When I open, it just say, "Let's get started." I'm like, what? I have to hold on to that. I'm going to get back to here. I have to read here, see what we can do together. And
I'll help you.
but I amazed when people put this goal, how they want to die. It's beautiful. Even though we don't know how we're going to die. Right?
Right.
If I can make a plan how I want to die, it would be peaceful place. Mm-hmm. No, really. Sleep, if I'm even awake, I want to be laying in the bed, wearing my white dress. No, seriously, just laying like that. Yeah, but we don't know.
Yes.
No.
And some people that know they have cancer and die, they take cruises.
Yeah.
And one of my friends, she told me that, Fatia, you won't believe what I just experienced. And I said, what you experienced? One lady, she had her last, she take, vacation, Caribbean. She had good night event. The next day, she died.
Yeah.
We do bucket list wishes.
Yeah,
that's part of
so
what we
I
do.
just been asked you,
Yeah.
do you do that?
We do bucket list wishes. That's probably one of my favorite parts of my job.
Oh, yeah.
I've been a part of several of those. I've done 2 art shows for people who are artists, and setting up the whole gallery and having people come and view their artwork. And they're there,
Wow.
they're on hospice, and they're watching people come through. And one lady started selling all her. I mean, it was beautiful, amazing artwork. And every time I'd find one I wanted, I'm like, I'm gonna bid on that. Somebody would buy it. I was like, darn it! But it was really great. I had one gentleman that he wanted to go back out to his land to where he had a lot of property, and so I rented a minivan with a wheelchair access, and him and his nurse and us, we went out to his land, and family brought a picnic, and he ran around,
Ooh,
went out there.
imagine
So.
you just sitting with someone that today is the last day. It's not easy. I don't want to cry, but it's not.
Yeah, but they can.
Life.
But they talk to you just like you and I. They
Yeah.
can tell you, and most of them are way more prepared than you are. I mean, they're ready. They're
God.
ready.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's amazing in the
So-
different cultures too on how they prepare for
Oh
the
God,
end of
my
life.
country, they never
The new
prepare.
life is what I want to call it. The new life.
My
Yeah.
country, and when the people die, they even rent people make you cry. when someone dies.
They hire professional mourner.
They hire someone that talk
call
about you. You
professional
just
mourners.
give them the life story, and then they talk about that person die, and they just, oh my God, they just like they really,
Yeah. That's
they make
amazing.
you cry. You don't want to cry, but they would. Even you are the serial killer. That day, they're gonna say nice thing about you. My mom's side.
Yeah.
And that is, you pay someone to come make you cry.
Wow.
And you will cry for 3-5 days.
Wow. Yeah. Yes. But now let me go back to the respite care that we talked about. Can you talk a little bit more about your respite care and how it works?
So respite care is for our hospice patients, and it is, the families can use that where if they want to go to a grandchild's wedding, or they want to, this is a 5-night stay that the patient comes and we take care of them, and they can utilize that every 3 months. So that they don't have to do all 5 nights, but we pay for 5 nights for them to have 24 hours.
So can they break those 5 nights up?
They can use them every 3 months though.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would do my 5 nights since I know I can't break it up.
Right. It's
And I know
5
every 3
consecutive. It's 5 consecutive
Okay.
nights. And a lot of times it is so families can travel or sleep, get some good sleep, but it's covered and it's paid for, and that's what the respite care. And then the other part of respite is if someone has medications that, so for instance, I was a young girl that came up to me, and she was probably in her 30s, and she said, I was in the hospital for several months and they could not get my medication right. She was like, I thought I was dying, I felt terrible. And she said, I went to your care center and they got my medicine. She's like, look, I'm out. And she was shopping because it was like I was at a booth, but they had the different shopping vendors there. And she's like, I feel so great. And I just love my nurse practitioner. And so she was able to go there and get her medications managed so that she felt better and could live her best life that she could.
That's awesome. So they was able to also help get the medication managed, get it right for her.
Right, and they stay, and that's considered respite because they come in there and the families will get some respite, while they're taking care of that. Yeah.
That's awesome.
There's really good resources here.
Yeah.
I mean, if maybe you can do that, Diana, for if you need some getaway.
Without paying out of my pocket.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
You really
yeah,
should
this is
do
really
it,
good.
like, yeah.
Okay, now so we went to the respite care, the memory partner, the community education. If you want to go out, is there any fee for you to go out to talk to
No,
anybody?
and I'll go to any organization. I go to churches. I'll go to, I'll set up at vendor fairs. I'll go to meet you at the Rotary, Kiwanis, different organizations that I can go to, just to get the word out. Yep.
That's good.
I work home care. I do home care.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so do you guys educate, like, it's a small company?
Absolutely.
Maybe I will give information to my boss. And
Absolutely.
I love what I do, like.
Yeah.
We just hope nobody don't pass away on you.
I know.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, and we also have an RN that for home care, we teach the CNAs.
You guys do
We
teach?
for free.
For free?
Our RN comes and she'll teach classes on, and it gives CEUs for social workers and nurses, and it gives credits for CNAs. And she could teach anything from, I've got a whole list I'll give you.
Okay.
But it could be heart disease, it could be ABCs of dementia, learning what's normal aging, what's not normal aging. That
Would she
have been
come out in the
helpful for-
community and just
Yes,
do that as
community and
well?
education. Here's a list. I think I gave it to you. Let's see.
That's good that she will
Yeah,
come
so
out
here's
to
a
do.
whole list. Having the hard conversation, healthy heart, orientation to hospice, spectrum of services, what's normal aging, and then on the back here, ABCs of dementia, assessing pain, all these that we will present.
So-
if there's organizations that want us to present any of these. I go to the senior centers, and I cover New Hanover, Pender, and Onslow. And I go to the different senior centers and try to do some of these here, and letting them know.
Now, do you partner up with any other hospice group, or you guys just separate?
We are separate. We are separate.
Okay.
We are our own nonprofit. Like I said, we started over 40 years ago. And so, yes, because I don't think that, I think we are the only nonprofit. I know we are in New Hanover and Pender, I believe in Onslow County as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
But I
I'm
also
glad
like that the
mentioned
nurses will
I've
come
been
out
doing
and
like
teach.
9 months.
Yes, so
You
it's
know?
it's an RN that comes and teaches these classes, so she can
Okay.
answer any questions and they also give credit hours. She's able to give credit hours to
Okay,
staff.
I would like
So
to. I would like
absolutely, we want to
attend
get in
those
every
classes.
home care we can get
Yeah.
in.
My
I mean,
daughter does, my oldest daughter, which is RN, she actually does health classes for our church once a year. So I'm going to make sure I give her that information to come out, because that's awesome.
Yeah.
Even the ABCs of dementia, things to look for,
Yes.
you know, because I understand that a UTI in an older person is dangerous.
Yes. Well, a UTI in older person, that's typically one of the first things when you've worked in a nursing home. If someone is not acting right, they are combative, or they are not themselves, is to look for a UTI, because it's not like when you're younger, it affects everything. It affects the mental as well
Yes.
as the physical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I am passionate for take care of elder. I've been like that my whole life, and now working with them is just like I'm so grateful to be part of it, to take care of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's history to me. When I look at seniors, I
Yeah.
feel like I'm looking at history,
Yes.
teaching me the different history and stuff.
Yes.
But it's amazing all the service that you guys actually offer with no fee.
Yes.
With no fee to be able to come
That's
out.
awesome. Really.
So all the different organizations that have these health fairs and stuff, look into Lower Cape Fear Life Care. Contact Shannon Jordan and make sure you get this information, because that's amazing that she comes out to present that. And I think that if I knew all this early on, I probably would have.
It's sad that people don't know, and they don't really know where to find it, or even, and that's why we're trying to get out there and educate as much as we can. I had our dementia specialist, she's also an RN, come to the Onslow Sheriff's Office and teach about when you come on the scene of someone with dementia and why they may act they act, because they can't, as your dementia progresses, you go from, only seeing like a scuba mask to eventually only seeing monocular. So when a cop comes in like this, what's your first instinct? Bam,
Yeah.
right? Because you can't see him.
Right.
So we train to come in, stand in front, kneel down, say, hello, I'm here, your family called me, I'm such and such, reach out your hand. We train about those with dementia, what it's like. I was telling you with your mom, behind every behavior is a need that's not being met. They're behaving because they may be wet, they may need changing, they may be hungry, they may be frustrated that they can't tell you what they're trying to say. But there's a reason that they're not just mean. This is a disease that, you have heart disease, you have kidney disease. It is a brain disease. It is just like any other disease, and they deserve the respect and the treatment just like anything else. There are over 100 different types of dementia, and people don't even realize it. And we're seeing it more and more, and so I think being trained in that is so important, or at least coming from an understanding.
Yes.
You know?
I'm
But
glad
Shannon,
you say that. You
there's
have
not
to
really
have
even
understanding.
doctors around here that treat dementia patients or know what to do or know what to look for. That's my experience.
Right. And that's why we started the program, because they were sending them to us.
Wow.
And so we started that, and we're going to be expanding this dementia program
That's good.
even more.
Like you say, we need understanding when you work with area like this and people that get a certain age and change the personality. I dealt with, like, she just looked at me like, I'm like, okay, we good. No, I don't take it personal. Like, then she goes back, oh, sweetheart, forgive me. I'm like, I'm not taking personal, because one, you have to look back where she was before. Now someone has to take care of her, And some people, they don't like that. They don't like the feelings that someone take care of them, changing them. If you don't have that understanding, then you will take it offended. And I'm like, no, she's sometimes like, really, she's me. I just stand there till she like, okay, I'm not going nowhere. I'm here to take care of you. Yeah.
Well, the world is rocking. They can't figure out what's going on either.
Right.
Yeah.
So that anybody become defensive when you can't figure
Yes.
out like what is happening. Whether it become medication, different little things that they look for in it. But to even be able as a caretaker to understand all this services is out here for you. Because the frustrating thing for me was she needs help, but I can't find help. everywhere I went, because she just had, like Medicare. If you got anything, you work all your life, and when it comes to the time for you to get help, there's no help for you. Or it's so expensive that you really can't afford anything. Yes. But at least if I would have known this early on, at least I would have had a starting point. So that's the reason why I'm like, she's got to come in so she can share with people, because I always feel like I'm not the only one going through anything. No. Right. Everybody, there's somebody else going through the same thing.
We also have a veterans program too.
Yeah,
because
I see here.
Those gentlemen that came back, we're seeing people now that were, before it was World War II, but now we're seeing people from Vietnam. And as you know, they weren't treated very respectfully when they came back. And so now we're really trying to let them know how much we honor them and for defending our country. And so we do special things for the veterans, and just knowing that the traumas that they may have went through too. So we have those that are trained specifically to work with veterans. We have vet-to-vet pinnings, so we have other veterans do pinnings, once they are on hospice. And then we definitely make sure that everyone knows that they were an honored veteran, if they are at the care center. Yeah. And we do different things. We have, there's a lot of other programs that go along with that, but that's just, kind of touching a little bit on that.
Yeah, I see you have the volunteer menu service.
Yes.
This is beautiful. I will reach out, and I would like to help.
We would love to have you.
Yeah.
And volunteering, it doesn't have to be, just once every 3 months would be great for a few hours. It doesn't, some people don't want to sit with patients, but I can tell you, it's not what you would imagine. Some patients don't have any family, so just to have someone to talk to and say, we had one gentleman who, he signed up, and the gentleman, he was a grumpy man. And what turns out why he was grumpy is he was missing his Tuesdays coffee at Hardee's with his gentleman. So this volunteer started taking him, and he was happy he got to see his gentleman. People think hospice is just in the hospital bed and actively passing, but that's not the case. We have people out and about, walking, driving, that are on hospice that would love to have someone to do things with them.
That's awesome. A companion.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Now, have y'all signed up with Volunteer Honest to Love?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
good.
we're on there.
Good.
And we and there's other ways that also, like setting up tents at festivals with me, trying to get the tent up, and being there to help talk to people and give out information. And we have different things like meals of love, bringing meals by, and hairdressing. If someone's good at hairdressing, the person on hospice, they still want to look good or have their nails done. If you want to come out and paint some fingernails,
so you can bring food.
So yes,
You
yes.
can?
Mm-hmm.
I love to cook, so
yeah. I'll give
That's
you my
awesome.
address.
Yeah, we can do that.
That's great. I didn't realize you had somebody that can come out and do the hair and everything.
Yeah.
Yes, we need volunteers
awesome.
for anything that you can think of.
it's
Pet care,
who's
who's going to walk the dog, who's, things that you don't think of. Yeah, there's a list here of just different things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would like
Especially
that.
pet care, because when that's their little friend.
That's right.
So to have the pet care and stuff, this has been amazing.
Yes.
Is there any final thoughts that you want to say before we?
I would just say reach out to me if I can talk to anyone, give a presentation, just kind of go over this, what we call, Life Care 101, to let people know what we have. Or if you have people that need continuing education, CNAs and nurses, we have RNs that can come and do that, and just reach out to me for that.
That's awesome.
Yes.
There's a lot
And
of.
you'll post, I guess, the number.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Lower Cape Fear Life Care. I like that, Lower Cape Fear Life Care.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, because it's not just
Awesome.
hospice.
Yes,
It's the full life care.
Yes, because they do offer a whole lot of service. So Shannon, thank you for coming on
Yes,
today.
thank
We
you.
really
Thank you for
enjoyed,
having
got
me.
this information out, and we hope you guys share this information because it is needed to be out. But look, get your stuff in order. We'll see you guys back next Wednesday. We hope you had a good Memorial Day. Stay safe. And from Colorful Voices to you, we'll see you next Wednesday. Thank you. That's great.
Yeah, this is.
At Lamour Media Versatility, we aim to provide comprehensive solutions to our clients. We have a team of experienced professionals who can help you with every aspect of your media needs. From documentation and marketing to promotion and more, we provide our clients with top-notch quality services. We understand that each client is unique and has specific needs. That's why our team works closely with you to understand your company and event goals and objectives. We are committed to providing the highest quality services in media and strive to exceed our clients' expectations. Our team is passionate about helping you reach your goals and making sure you get the best experience and results. If you're looking for a reliable business to help you with all your media needs, look no further than L'Amour Media Versatility. Contact us today to get started at 252-497-3817 or at www.lamour-photos.com.